Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. I know it's been a while, let's get caught up on where I've been. I think it's been almost 3 months since I've last posted. I don't have a lot of subscribers, but to those who do subscribe, I appreciate you and do want to apologize. It's been so long that I actually forgot that the holidays had passed since my last video. And truthfully, what happened was I just had a really bad holiday season. I was fighting illnesses back and forth. Normie wife and I passed a couple back and forth. I had an ear infection that lasted like 6 weeks on and off. I ran through 3 different antibiotics, and during that whole time, even when I felt better, I was still coughing really bad and my nose was running all the time, and it was not good recording voice. So I just kept putting it off. I know a lot has happened, and I hope that, speaking of the holidays, it seems so long ago, but I hope you had a good holiday. I hope your Christmas was good, Thanksgiving, New Year's, all that good stuff. I love the holidays. I'm a big holiday guy. I'm a big fan of, getting together with family and, sharing time, and, it's all about the kids and the presents and stuff like that. So I just love the holiday season, but I hope yours was good, and I hope you had a good and safe New Year. But having said all that now, which is why, that's why I've been gone for so long. Also, going into this year, and even during the time when I was sick, my job has been extremely hectic and very busy, and I just have not had the energy. When I get home from work, and I work out or I don't work out, I'm still just exhausted mentally. But it's good, because I like being busy. I don't like going to work and sitting around and looking for something to do. I enjoy having more things to do than I can complete in a day, because it just knows I always have something to do. So I like that. It doesn't bother me, but it is extremely hectic, and my company was going through a lot of stuff. We had a whole new regime change, and when that happens, and I've gone through this before with previous companies, there's always growing pains. There's always a lot of feeling out and where we're going to go with the new direction and who's in charge of what. So just a lot of corporate stuff that I'm used to it. So it's not that big of a deal, but it does bog down a lot of processes. It really does. So, and then it's like I said, it's like a learning experience when this happens. But yeah, that's really why. I think my last video was just before Thanksgiving. I think it's been right about 3 months. So, but I'm glad to be back. It's good to actually be sitting here in front of the camera. I do miss it. I've been keeping up on gaming news. I still listen to my regular podcast. I've actually, not as much, like I said before, I've been busy. So when I can, I always like to listen to a podcast when I'm working, when I'm not listening to music, when I'm driving back and forth to work on my commute, same thing. So a lot of stuff has happened. I mean, there's a million things that have happened since my last video. I'm not even going to try to catch up with everything, the Game Awards and all the current Microsoft Blizzard deal, what's going on with Sony and the PSVR 2. And there's just been tons of things going on. A lot of, games have come out. So, I'm not even going to attempt to go through and give you my take on all this stuff. That would be like a 10-hour EFAF video for me. But I do want to get caught up on a couple of things, from where I left off the last time. Number one, I finished God of War Ragnarok, knocked it out in about 57 hours and absolutely love that game. I think that game is just fantastic. If I can encapsulate it in one word, fantastic is, the one that comes to mind. Overall, I think the story was strong. That it wasn't perfect. There were things that didn't bother me necessarily, but I was kind of okay. That didn't really land as hard as I wanted to. But for the most part, I think they fulfilled everything that they wanted to do, and I was happy with the ending. I didn't think it ended the way that I thought it was going to end. I was like expecting something different. So that was good though. It was okay for it not to just go exactly as I thought it was going to go. I'm glad for that. The game itself, like the gameplay loop, the combat, the character stuff and everything, like the different worlds and, not worlds, realms. I mean, it was awesome. Like, it was so much fun going through that game. And defeating the many bosses, doing the side content, exploring the world. Even though I thought it was a little formulaic at times, where you just kind of knew, like, okay, here's a new open area. Let me just go and let's see what's out there and just sort of explore. And a lot of it kind of there were some things that were samey, especially with animations that kind of gets old after a while when you see the same animation for a side quest where you have to go like capture 6 things or, defeat 10 whatevers. And there's always the same repetitiveness to that. There was enough content for me to that really didn't like bring it down for me. I didn't get that feeling of like, here we go again. Now I got to go do this. I always felt like I was up to something, and it was always exciting, especially the side content, the side quests. They really kind of brought me into the world, because there was a lot of history that was being spoken between characters, between in cutscenes, and just when you're rowing your boat and just talking and listening to Mimir or Freyr and just listening to, or Freya, I'm sorry, Freyr is the brother, listening to Freya and Kratos and Atreus, just listening to them all talk. It was just, there was so much going on for me. I just really in love. I was in love with the whole thing. Anytime they were talking, I was listening. I wanted to know what they were talking about because I'm not a big Norse mythology buff. I don't know a lot about it. So when they were telling me things, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that name meant that, or I didn't actually understand entirely what Ragnarok was outside of it's like the rapture, essentially. It's like the end of the world for the Norse gods or the Norse realms. But in the end, I think that game's fantastic. I think it earned all of the praise that it got, and it earned all of the awards at the award show that it was nominated for. It didn't win Game of the Year, but I kind of figured as much. Elden Ring took home GOTY, and I think Elden Ring absolutely earned it, deserved it, and great for them, But I knew going into that my thoughts on Elden Ring and why I thought they was going to win, even though I've only played like 2 hours of the game, they were doing something different. God of War Ragnarok absolutely evolved from God of War 2018. So it's not the same game. And they took it to a whole nother level in so many areas of the game. Everything was ratcheted up to the next level, which was fantastic. But it's still a sequel, so I knew that was going to kind of be a little bit sour for some reviewers. And it's all media shit. Media is the one who nominates the Game of the Year and all the awards. And I talked about that before. Media sucks. I don't really care about media, but to win Game of the Year, it does mean something. It means something to Elden Ring. It means something to FromSoft, the studio who created it. I think what they accomplished was pretty fantastic itself. I mean, like I said, it's not my type of game. Maybe one day I'll get into Souls-likes and I'll go back and play Elden Ring and it'll be like, oh my God, what was I thinking? I can't believe I didn't play this game. But right now I just, not interested. It looks cool, but it's just not my type of game. But still, I think that, Elden Ring winning was good for them. I thought God of War won the awards that it did. I was like, okay, it makes sense. There was nothing there was no surprises. There was nothing like, oh, I can't believe they got snubbed or whatever. Even though and I'm going to get into this. This is one of the topics I want to talk about today is like the fanboy 2.0 conversation I want to have, and then just YouTubers and media in general, and how people been talking lately. But when God of War didn't win Game of the Year, I just saw tons of my feed just popped up with like, Sony fanboys are crying. Elden Ring wins Game of the Year, and Sony can't take it, and the fanboys that were drinking fanboy tears and all this other stuff. And I mean, it's funny. I think it's comical in a way, because it's like, okay, I see what you're doing there, but and then you listen to the videos and it's like, who who's crying? I don't know who it is. Maybe I'm sure there are people out there. I'm not saying that there's no Sony fans out there who aren't pitching a fit that God of War didn't win Game of the Year. But you won't find anyone on this channel saying that, because I think it was earned. I think Elden Ring winning game of the year was earned. It was the right choice. So, but anyways, so yeah, God of War Ragnarok, loved it. Highly recommend it if you have. I think I said this before. So I have upgraded my setup a little bit. It probably looks like I'm doing like a. It probably looks like I'm doing like a Ghost Hunters video right now because it's dark and there's only one light in here. But my office, I rearranged it again, and the room is all painted now, and I have things I want to hang up. I really want to decorate this room the way I want it because it's kind of like my little chill spot. So I apologize for that. It does look a little blank in here, but with time, I'll have everything hung up, and hopefully I get some additional lights in the background. But my gaming setup, I have upgraded it, and I now have an OLED monitor. I have the LG 27-inch OLED screen. It just released, I believe, in February. I love it. I highly recommend any OLED screen that you can play on. If you're going to play God of War or any PS5 game, and essentially, if it's a AAA game, I recommend playing it on an OLED screen. It just makes the world of difference. The screen is, I'm getting easily 60 frames, and I'm getting 120 playing Call of Duty. So, and it just looks fantastic. And I don't have to, I always drug my PS5 back and forth between my office, which is where I like to play. It's more comfortable. Playing on a monitor is kind of nice. It's close. It's easy. But my OLED screen was in the living room. So I'd always take my PS5 in there, plug it in, so I can get the visuals. And that's what I was playing God of War on. I beat the game playing in the other room, but I did plug it into another monitor because I was testing another one. It was a Sony. It's basically the Sony monitor that looks like a PS5. It's white and it's dressed up just like a PS5. Really great monitor, but it's not OLED. It's an LED. I think LED. Yeah. And it was fantastic. It looks great, but the OLED screen in my living room just broke my brain. I can't unsee it. Once I play God of War on an OLED screen and I go and play it on a LED screen, it just doesn't work. I don't care how nice it is. My brain just doesn't see it the same way. So, I had that monitor for about 7 days. I took it back, returned it, and then I got my LG. And I'm loving it. So back to my original point is, if you can play God of War on an OLED, I highly recommend it. I would put it on performance mode, because once you kind of get into that 60 frames, going back to 30, to me, it just looks very grainy and choppy, and I'm just not a fan of it anymore. But I think you should absolutely play God of War Ragnarok. I thought it was awesome. And if you haven't played God of War 2018, you need to play that first. It's direct sequel. You're going to be missing out on a ton of stuff. So, okay. What am I playing right now? So I am playing Hogwarts Legacy. About 7 hours in. Looks good. I'm really enjoying it. I am not a Harry Potter fan at all. Like, I think I've watched the first movie and that's it. I've never read a book or anything. It's just, it came out when I was in my early 20s. So I was in a different mindset at 21, 22 years old. I wasn't trying to, watch a children's, movie or anything like that. It wasn't my thing. But it's huge. It's a very big franchise. Going into this game, I really wasn't going to buy it. I really wasn't looking forward to it or anything. But a buddy of mine, shout out to Hulk Smash, he was playing it. So I texted him and he said, "You don't need to be a fan. You really need to try this. It's a fun game." And he was right. It's a fun game. So far, so good. In a nutshell, it's just it's to me, I just think if I were a Harry Potter fan, this is the game that I think Harry Potter fans have always wanted, because you get to live out your wizard/witch fantasy of going to Hogwarts, being a student, wandering around the campus or the school or the castle, whatever the hell it is. The detail that they have put into Hogwarts, and just when you're roaming around, I don't know anything about Harry Potter at all, but I do know some things. Like I said, I've seen that first movie. I do remember some of it, and just wandering around and looking at things. I'm like, man, this is really cool. It looks really good. The paintings move like in the movies. There's ghosts floating around. There's students everywhere sort of mingling. There's all kinds of like little hidden secrets and things like that. At first I kind of felt like, okay, there's a couple of collectathon things, but that's really it. But if you're going to play this game, I suggest kind of knock out some of the early story missions first. Like, you can explore whenever you see something. If you see something shiny, go check it out. It's probably going to be worth your time. But I was sort of I was wondering, I'm just kind of feel like I'm doing the same thing, but I was just wandering around. I wasn't really focusing on the story. So once I really went hard into the story, I knocked out like 4 or 5. No, actually it was like 6 missions. Like, and they're like the first 6 missions are sort of they're like the intro. They teach you a lot. They show you like how the controls work, how the questing works, a lot of stuff. It's really, and it's a nice steady diet of an intro, at least in my opinion. And once I got the first part of it, I don't want to spoil anything, but once you basically get your gear and everything, you sort of get lined up. The game really has opened up, and all of a sudden my quest list is like, there's like 6, 7, 8 things just waiting for me to do. And the world map is now kind of unlocked where I can just go wherever I want. So, and the map it's huge, massive. When I first opened the map and you see Hogwarts, it's like this little dot, right? And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I zoomed in and I was looking at it, and then I pulled out and I was like, holy crap. Then I started moving the cursor around. It's huge. Hogwarts was a little dot in the middle, and there's tons of stuff to do. So I've seen a couple of videos of other people playing, and they're zipping around on brooms and shit. So it sounds like fun. I'm having fun with the game. The story is pretty cool. I mean, like I said, I don't know anything about Harry Potter, but it's neat. Like, you get into it and it's like you're your own character. You're not playing a written character. Like, there's a story that you're fulfilling, but you get to create your character however you want to look. You name your character. Your name is what pops up. So it's very much like a role-playing game. But I wouldn't necessarily call it like a full-on RPG. I don't think so, but definitely an RPG light. But it's a good game. I really like it. And I know there's a huge controversy going on right now. All I'm going to say about this whole boycotting because of J.K. Rowling, listen, you don't want to support something, you don't like someone's opinions, that's fine. I don't care. To each their own. There is a difference between, hey, I'm not going to support something, I'm not going to give it my money, and there's a line between that and I'm going to scrutinize and harass people that do. That's where you lose me, okay? And harassing people because they're going to play a video game that you don't want to support, you can get fucked, okay? And don't come around here with that, because I have no patience for that. I totally understand that there's an argument to be made and there's a difference of opinion and whatever. That's totally fine with me. But there's people, obviously, especially nowadays in 2023, we just keep ratcheting up the crazy. People are just saying and doing some crazy shit. And I don't have any patience for it, So, don't buy the game, don't play the game, don't watch videos, but going around and like doling out death threats and being like a keyboard warrior video game gangster where you're going to start threatening people, you're just saying shit you would never say to someone's face. So to me, I can brush it off. But there are people out there who, they take that shit pretty hard. You start threatening them and there's a Twitch streamer who was getting death threats and all kinds of stuff. I think it's weak. I think it just shows just how weak people can be, where you need to lash out like a child who doesn't get to eat ice cream. I don't have any patience for it. I think most people don't. But there are people that do take it pretty hard. And, I feel bad for them because all they want to do is enjoy a video game. They don't really care. Just like me. I just want to play video games and talk about them and give my opinion. If you don't like my opinion, that's okay. That's cool. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. And I sure as hell am not going to criticize someone for liking something or disliking something, or supporting someone or not supporting someone. It's whatever. It's your thing. You do your thing. I'm going to do mine. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I really don't want to get into it too much more because it's a fucking waste of breath. These people are stupid. Boycotting can be effective, but we are past the days of like real boycotts and real strikes, like real movements. it's like everyone thinks that they have a movement, like their fifis get hurt and then let's start a movement, and it's like, okay, you and your 5 friends can fucking make a big scene or whatever and go online and start talking shit, or you can go to a college, or you can do whatever you want. But it's like the rest of the world just keeps spinning, and I just don't really care. You're just a waste of breath. You're whining and crying about something that you're looking for something to be sad about, so try not being so fucking sad. Maybe try that, but anyways, but yeah, so far so good. Like I said, I like it. I think Hogwarts Legacy, now my early impressions are positive. It is a little, there is a little bit of bugginess going on though. I have noticed that, especially with lighting, when like the camera pans, it kind of gets like, you can see sort of the light, the way it reflects off certain surfaces. You can see where it like goes away, then comes back. It's like pop in a little bit. Then like when you walk into a room, it kind of, sometimes the area, like it populates real quick, like it pops in real fast. Like the lighting looks a certain way, and then you take a couple steps and boom, then the real lighting happens. So I'm sure that's fixable. But for the most part, the game hasn't crashed on me. Nothing where I can't complete a quest. The combat's fun. I can't think of anything on the technical side that's been detrimental to the game or the gameplay itself. So that's good. All right. Next thing I want to talk about real quick is the Last of Us series. So I'm a big fan of Last of Us 1, the game by Naughty Dog. When this show was announced by HBO and Sony and all, Naughty Dog and everybody, it's a collaborative effort. I didn't want it. I really did not want this as a show or a movie because I'm a gamer. It's my hobby. It's what I've been doing for 35 plus years, right? So when I experience a game like The Last of Us, which is one of my favorite games of all time, the story is just so visceral and real and emotional, and it's just so well written and well done. Then to have this sort of thrown into the mainstream and letting Hollywood do their thing and just sort of fuck it up, it's really annoying. And I do want to say something that, my channel's name is something for the normies. And the reason why I call it that is because I am just a normie, and, I want to give a normie's perspective, and I would not consider myself a hardcore gamer. I wouldn't say that, because to me, a hardcore gamer is someone who puts in like 40 hours a week in gaming. They put in a lot more time than I do. I can't put in that much time. If I didn't have a job, sure, I could probably qualify as a hardcore gamer, but I wouldn't even call myself that. Or like right now, I can't, because I game when I can. And I enjoy the games that I like, but I'm not one of those people that plays every type of game. Like, where I can go out and do a review on, a Souls-like and a JRPG and a fighting game and an RPG and an FPS. Like there's only a couple of those that I actually play. So like JRPGs, I don't want anything to do with them. They just don't do anything for me. So I don't play them. So I wouldn't consider myself a hardcore gamer. Having said that, I've been listening to comic book fans talk about their form of media that they're fans of, and we're talking about people that have spent their lives purchasing, trading, selling comics, graphic novels, toys, memorabilia, anything, right? I've been listening to them talk about Hollywood and how Hollywood has fucked up their medium for years now. And I knew at some point it was going to happen to gaming. The writing was on the wall, right? And when you look at something like Marvel, and you look at how Marvel Comics and what they are as comics and what they have been for decades, way before the MCU, I've been listening to the core fans make these complaints. They pop videos off constantly, right? Huge fan of like Nerdrotic. Love that guy. He makes great content. But he's been saying this for years, and as someone who isn't a comic book fan, and I just was sort of like, oh, okay. I'm interested in what he has to say. I get it. But it's just not my thing. Like, comics are not my thing. Doctor Who is not my thing. I'm not a Trekkie. I like Star Trek, but I'm not a Trekkie. I can understand where him and other YouTubers are coming from, though, because if you look at the MCU now and you look at a shit corporation like Disney, who has just run that franchise in the ground, and Star Wars, because I was a Star Wars kid, it was a matter of time until that came to gaming. Okay. And probably about, I think it was when Days Gone came out. It was like 2017 or something like that. That was the first time that I actually heard criticism for a game based solely on the race of and gender of the protagonist. Like, that was a criticism. And that to me was the first flare where I was like, and it hit me wrong. When I heard it, I was like, wait, what? Like, so the fact that he's a gruff white dude, that's a problem for you, And like, why does that matter? Or what does it have to do with it? Is he a terrible character? Is he poorly written? Is his dialogue shit? Was the voice acting trash? Was the facial animation garbage? Like, what are we talking about here? No, it was just the color of his skin and his gender. That was the first time that I heard that shit, and I knew, I already sensed it. I already, like I said, I used to be a big IGN guy. I used to be a big Game Informer and Easy Allies and Game Trailers and GameSpot and all that shit. I used to be a big fan of theirs, of all the media corporations. I used to list. That's where I got all my information from. And since around 2016, 17, I really started like noticing more. Before that, 2012 to 2015, I was hearing it, but I was kind of like, it's okay. It's just their opinion. I just kind of, whatever. I know I wasn't too stressed about it, but I knew it was coming. And when I heard that from a reviewer from, I think it was IGN or whatever, it doesn't matter. When I heard that in the review and they put that out there for the world to see as a criticism for a video game was based on race and gender, that's when I knew shit was coming. Like, it was no longer hiding. There was no longer a sort of a veiled criticism. It was just blunt and straightforward. Since 2017, I think it was 2017, it might have been 16. Since then, though, the snowball has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, right? It's gotten out of control. And I don't like to get too political on here. I really do not. I enjoy talking politics with people. It's fun. Debating is fun. But when it comes to like video games, I'm just like, God, it's escapism. That's my escapism, right? Just like comic book fans have been saying forever. That's my escapism. What are you doing? You're writing this trash. And they're reviewing comics and they're like, this shit sucks. I knew this was coming to gaming, and I have seen it just manifest and grow and grow. And it's a bummer because making games into movies and TV shows, letting Hollywood, which is just trash ass creativity, like Hollywood is just they're a dumpster fire. They really are. They're trash. You got some sick people that live there and work there to begin with, but on top of that, just creativity is they're just gone. They don't have anything. Everything's a remake or a reboot or a rehash or a retelling. It's ridiculous. There's no real original content. There's little slivers of it here and there, but it's like the golden era of movies and TV shows that's behind us now. Now we got to put up. Now we're just sort of. I'm just like, there's like one show out of 50 that I'm like, that's a pretty decent show, but that's it. And when HBO got the contract or whatever you want to say, got the agreement with Sony and Naughty Dog to make The Last of Us, I know because it's Hollywood. I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's see what they do. Okay. When I started watching the show, I'm like, all right, let's see what they're doing. And I already knew they were already race swapping. They were already gender swapping and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is fine. Let's just get through with this. Let's see what's up. I think it's trash. I think it's trash. I thought the first episode was meh. It was okay. There was a couple of things where I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I was going to do a review of each episode. But like I said, with everything that was going on with me health-wise and with work, I just was like, I'm not going to try to burn the candle at both ends. It's like, I just need to focus on my job and focus on getting well. But I watched the first 3 episodes. I just think it's shit. That show is trash. And I don't, I mean, I know there's guys that I like. There's podcasters and YouTubers that they love it. And they're like, oh, I like this and it's good. And this, and no. And I kind of wish that I was reviewing it, each episode, because I have a lot to say. I'm not going to get into it now, but they're just taking liberties with the lore that are just, they're not even taking liberties. They're just rewriting shit. They're just saying, nah, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this whole other way. And it's very, even though the quality of the production value is very high because HBO got that big budget, they know how to make things look really, really good. They are really good at like costume design, set design, I can't think of the word now. Just camera work, not photography, but like camera work, sound design, everything, score. They're really good at bringing things to life. And I think that they did do that. They did accomplish that. The way the show looks is good, but it's trash. I just think it's shit. I just don't like it. I just, and if you like it, that's cool. I knew going into it though, that it's about zombies, and zombies there's a following out there. There's a cult following. I'm a big zombie guy. I love zombie shows, zombie movies and stuff, video games. I'm all about them. I knew it was going to catch on, and I knew it was going to be popular just because of that alone. Like, you can just have the show not even be about a video game and just make a new zombie show, and you put HBO behind it, and you put a lot of money behind it, you're probably you're gonna strike some gold there for sure. But what I think they're doing to the story and to the game and to the lore, I think it's trash. And going back to what the core comic book fans have been complaining about for years, here it is. And this is like, the normies like myself, typically we just sort of consume that shit. And that's usually what corporations want us to do. They want us to consume it and just move on, shut up and ask for seconds and don't complain and that type of shit. I am a normie, but I'm a customer, I don't want to be a consumer, and I'm going to pay for what I like. I'm going to pay well for things that I think are worth the value, but I'm not just going to consume trash. I'm just not going to do it. And I'm not going to do it because, the YouTubers that I listen to and subscribe to and give super chats to, just because they love it. I'm not going to fucking follow suit. I will never do that. That's just not me. And it's okay if they like it. It's okay that the YouTubers that I like, that they're, they talk about it and they talk about it in high regard. Like, oh man, I loved it. This was so cool. And that was good. And, I'm loving what they're doing. I love Pablo Escobar, or what's it? Not Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar. I'm sorry. Jesus, what's his name now? I had his name in my head. I totally forgot it. The guy from Game of Thrones, super popular, plays the Mandalorian. Oh my God. Now I got to look it up because someone's probably listening to me right now. They're like, dude, seriously? Let me look this up real quick. It's going to drive me nuts. The Last of Us. The Last of Us. What's his name? Pedro Pascal. Pablo Escobar. Wow. Jeez. Actually, oh, you know what? He played in a show called Narcos, I think. That is about Pablo Escobar. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. I know Pedro Pascal, I think he's a good actor. I don't agree with the guy on a political level. I don't agree with him on a social level, but he can act. He is a good actor. But the show isn't working for me. I don't like it. So if you're liking it, that's cool. Continue to watch it and whatever, but I watched 3 episodes and I just checked out, and one of the things too, that I as someone as gaming is my niche, I will say this, I saw this on another show too as well, but I've always thought this. I'm like, why is Neil Druckmann, the creator of The Last of Us 2, he has taken over the mantle as though he is the founder, the godfather of The Last of Us? He's not. He didn't create The Last of Us. He's a leech. He was a part of the team. He worked at Naughty Dog when The Last of Us was created, but that was by a man named Bruce Straley. He's the one who created The Last of Us, the first game. And then Bruce left, and along the way too, Amy Hennig left, who was the creator of Uncharted series. And this Neil Druckmann, who I don't like, I think he's a fucking tool. He is getting all of this love and all this attention, and he's directing episodes and he's this and he's that. He didn't have anything to do with the first game. This show, what it's about, he had no fucking say in it. He wasn't involved in that shit. He was a part of the team, but the creator, that wasn't him. He created The Last of Us 2, which is extremely controversial and a game that I never bought because of the bullshit that he pulled. Different topic, but it's just something that I wanted to point out. So, you know, if you're a normie and you're hearing this and you say like, oh yeah, Neil Druckmann, he's awesome. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He didn't create The Last of Us. That's not his thing. I just need to put that out there because I think a lot of people are missing that. Okay. All right. So let's talk about, so the thing that I really wanted to get into, that I've been hearing a lot of stuff, is, the fanboy argument. So, and this is going to kind of connect with a few things here. So bear with me. I did a video, long time ago, early on when I created my channel a little over a year ago, whenever it was, talking about fanboys. And I think there's a few things about the term that we need to get out of the way. Okay. Number one, it's overused. Okay. People use that term fanboys as like this negative hit, you know, as like it's a dig, it's a cut down. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, if we're having a debate and you're like, oh, you're just a fanboy, that's a dig. You're dismissing me and you're labeling me as something negative. The other thing about it that I think needs to be, you know, I think people need to really realize is that is a term that was media created. That wasn't a term that was like it wasn't like it's something that grew and all of a sudden it was like in the comment sections or whatever. No. Media created that term. And I think it's important to note that because people think that certain terms are like drummed up in their own head, or they think they heard their favorite, you know, their YouTuber or their influencer or whatever. They start saying something and say, oh, they created that. That's their term. Okay. The word conspiracy theory, or the two words conspiracy theory, fake news, toxic fans, those are all media created terms, just like fanboy. Okay. So when people use these terms and stuff, they're basically using a media created term. And I think a lot of people, that gets lost on people. And I think it's important to note that because media is shit. Media is not your friend. Okay. They are in it for themselves. So I think it's important that people understand that the word is not something that gamers were talking. That wasn't a term that was used when I was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first one back in the, you know, was like late 2000s. You know, when I was playing, Jesus, I'm trying to think of other games I played online, like, you know, ESO or whatever, like just any Destiny, you know, Battlefield. Fanboy was not a term that was being spoken in chat rooms amongst gamers. That's not a thing. It was media created, and they labeled it and they used it to label people in a negative light so that you could throw this tag on somebody and then they were branded. Then you can identify them as like, oh, they're bad. They're not good. They're a fanboy. Oh my goodness. Stay away. They're dangerous. It's bullshit. It's a lame, weak term that I think is way overrated and overused. But having said that, the reason why I brought that up is because the term fanboy being used so much more now with this the console war between Xbox and Sony has definitely been heating up. And I think it's important to also note that the console war has always been there. Okay. Regardless of what media says and regardless of what YouTubers who are former media, I'm talking to you too, because you can't shake off that media stench. Okay. When I see YouTubers who are independent now, who have their own thing, that's good for you. We're giving you props. That's awesome. Start your own media corporation, or you're just doing your own thing, just you and your camera and your mic. That's great. Good for you. Do your own thing. But you cannot shake off that media stench. And I hear it a lot. I can hear when someone who has been an IGN so-and-so or a Game Informer so-and-so for years, I can tell when they go full media, like when it comes out and it's there. I mean, you just can't lose it. So I think that the going back to the conversation and the console war and everything, the it's always been there. It was there with the PS4, the Xbox One. It was there with the 360 and the PS3. It's been going on for years and years. But it just seems like all of a sudden, these YouTubers, and a lot of them are former media, they sort of elevated themselves above the rest of us plebeians, you know? Like they talk down to people, and it's really fucking annoying. And they need to cut that shit out. Because they are talking as though they are above the console war. Like they don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not team green. I'm not team blue, blah, blah, blah. And then they caveat that with a ton of fucking fanboy shit, you know, about Xbox or about Sony. And it's like, I thought you were above it, but you're feeding that fire. I thought you didn't like it, but you fucking talk about it all the time. It's no different than when I hear someone say, oh, this is going to sound fanboyish, but just bear with me here. Just fucking say what you want to say. Okay. Like you're so concerned about not being labeled a fanboy or not being labeled involved in the console war, which is it's a fake war, people. We're arguing over what console is doing better. That's all we're doing. So it's just it's not that big of a deal, but it's being elevated as though it's like, this is dangerous. This isn't good. Like this is so toxic. This is very bad for fans. This is bad for gamers. We shouldn't be talking about the console war. What are you talking about? What's the big deal? Like seriously, what is the big deal? How many lives have we lost due to the console war? I think 0. Okay. How many feelings get hurt? Maybe a few, but outside of that, it's not that big of a deal. Okay. And I've just noticed that a lot of the guys and girls out there who are talking about games and have their own channels, they sure as hell talk down about console war, and they sure as hell love talking down to fanboys and fangirls. That's kind of been thrown out there too, but fanboys sort of the go-to. I think I can catch on to your bullshit. Okay. I see what you're doing. Okay. You're trying to distance yourself from some sort of pool that you don't want to get the stink on you. Like you don't want people to think that you're a fanboy. You don't want people to think that you're contributing to the console war. Yet you do every fucking day. Every video, every title, every time you have a topic where you talk about how Sony isn't doing good or Xbox isn't doing good, you're contributing, you're a part of it. Just own that shit. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're wrong for doing it. And I'm not saying you're wrong for having your opinion. I am 100% free speech. Say whatever the hell you want to say, because I'm gonna, you know, and I think you should be able to do the same thing. But the tone has just really shifted. And the reason why I pointed out the media thing is because those YouTubers who were former so-and-sos at media corporations, they really get uppity. They really talk down to people, and they can get fucked. Okay. I'm sorry. The shit that they say, the way they talk to people, they would not say to their face. They wouldn't. And it's so funny because I always crack up when I hear people online, like in gaming chats and stuff like that. You hear people like talking shit, and they're, I'll come to your house and I'll whoop your ass and all this shit. And, you know, and you don't want to mess with me, and I'm from whatever block and You know, it's like, okay, cool story. How old are you? What are you, 15? Like, I'm like in my 40s. Okay. Just chill out. All right. Young blood, you got your thing. Just chill out. But you hear that stuff, you know, and then you also hear the people who get really just crazy, and there are people out there who say racist shit, and I'm just like, mute, I don't want to talk to you, or report or whatever. I don't have time for that shit. I don't want that in my life. But the tone of what's going on right now has just really shifted. And I think you're starting to see the divide similar to what happened with the comic industry, where I think you're going to really start to see it sort of split, and you're going to have the true independent creators over here, the people who aren't beholden to any sort of, Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo. You know, there's no deals that are being made. There's no what do they call it? Like access, you know, like, oh, you'll be granted access as long as you give us a good score, as long as you whatever, you'll be the first to interview so-and-so, whatever. There's definitely going to be people who I think will be the independents, the true independents. And I think the people that are former media and who really love to beat their chest about how they're not media anymore and how they broke away from it, but yet they talk and they treat people just like they are media. It's like, okay, you can't change your stripes. You really want to change your stripes, then don't fucking just knock it off. Like, cut ties with it completely, you know? But I've been listening to a lot, like I said, and I know I haven't recorded in a long time and I'm coming in kind of hot now, but it's just kind of built up in my head. Like, I've been listening to these guys and girls talk about shit, and it's like, man, just what is this shit? You know, what is this uppity crap? You know, and furthermore, when you come in beating your chest, talking about your resume, like talking like Kate Bishop in Hawkeye, like constantly reinforcing who she is. You know, she's a 2-time state champ. She's a blah, blah, blah. I'm a so-and-so. I did this. I did that. People say I'm the greatest archer in the world. When you come in talking about how I used to work at IGN, I used to work at Game Trailers, and I used to be there for 10 years, and I was the chief editor, and I used to be blah, 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 and all this other shit. And it's like, oh, okay, great. Anyways, what's your opinion of the game? Like, can we get back to that? Okay, but if you have to come in beating your chest, letting everyone know who you are, because that grants you some sort of amnesty from criticism, you're fucking wrong. You can be criticized just like everybody else. Okay. I can be criticized. I get criticized all the time. It's fine. It's okay. You know, it doesn't bother me. I'm not beholden to anything, but I don't feel the need to tell people that. Like, I don't need to tell people constantly, like, we do not take, I buy all my own games. I do not get codes. I'm not beholden to anybody. It's like, okay, great. Okay. You know, but it's reached that point now where everyone's so jockeying for position. Everyone's so worried about presenting themselves as authentic that they forget to just be themselves. That they have to paint a portrait of who they are, hand you the resume, and be like, see all the things that I am and that I've done and that I do and that I say that I am. So you can't criticize me. And it's like, no, just tell me your fucking opinion and move on. And let's talk about it. If we disagree, can we just talk about that shit? But I don't know. That's been really irking the shit out of me lately because, and I'm talking about people that I still subscribe to, that I still like. I still watch their videos. I still give them views. I still give them thumbs up because for the most part, there is some good content out there. And there are some of these former media people that do make decent content for sure. But they still got that media stench and it comes out. They come out, that media stinky just rises out of their pores. And sometimes they just really got to sound like they're like they're still an editor at fucking, Game Informer or some shit. And it's like, dude, just knock it off, bro. Can we just talk about like what you think of the game? But yeah, I don't know. I just, that one's been bugging the shit out of me. And like I said, the console war, if you want to call it that, is heating up because of that. There's a lot of big moves going on with the Activision Blizzard, with Bethesda being bought by Microsoft and everything's going on. Sony, kind of doing what they've been doing. Just, they're sort of more, they're on the lower key of things. They're not really, I just don't see Sony going after as many studios as I see Microsoft right now. Microsoft is trying to buy up everything and everyone, just like Disney. To me, this is just my opinion. Microsoft is just like Disney. Okay. Disney is trash. Okay. They fucking ruin Star Wars. They fucking ruin the MCU. They fucking ruin Pixar. Okay. They're trash. I have zero respect for that corporation. Now, I don't think Microsoft is at the level of trash that Disney is, but they are trending in that direction. Okay, and there's plenty of examples for that, right? There's plenty of examples that Microsoft is fucking up. Like they're just not making good choices. But Sony's still doing their thing. I mean, I think they're putting out great content. I think they're putting out good games. Like I said, I just put in 57 hours on one of their games, and I loved every single second of it. There wasn't a second that I played that game where I was like, oh, this is kind of stupid. Oh, I wish this wasn't. Oh, I better go do this now. And I was like, no, I couldn't wait to go do anything and everything. Everything that was coming at me, I was all in. But, with the console war and everything, I think that there's criticisms to be had for both. I think both corporations make mistakes for sure. But I think right now the pendulum, which it always is, everything's on a pendulum. The pendulum is in Sony's favor. Okay. Sony's killing it right now. Sony's doing really, really good. Okay. PS5 is killing it. Their PS4 was killing it. So they have back-to-back console generations where they're looking really damn good. Usually it's not. Usually it lasts one console generation, then they fuck it up. just like the PS3. But Microsoft is on the opposite end right now. They're not doing that well, and it's okay to criticize them. But and what I'm getting to is kind of moving on to this next topic here, because so Microsoft admitted that Game Pass is hurting game sales, that it takes away from game sales. Okay. And that to me is bullshit. Like, that's like, duh, we know that. Like, we know that's true, right? But I think it's funny that people hear that and they turn it into a positive. They spin that into some bullshit of like, oh, that's actually really cool. That's good for smaller devs. That's what it's for. Like, they're not hurting games at all. They're not hurting gamers and whatever. And it's like, okay, look, I've said this before about Game Pass. Microsoft has already openly said it, and every defender of Xbox has said this too. Microsoft wants to be the Netflix of gaming. That's their goal. Okay, that's fine. That's a very lofty goal. It can be done. I think they can probably accomplish it just by sheer financial will. They have the coffers to force this into fruition. Okay, they can make it happen. But when Microsoft came out, and this whole thing is going back and forth to the CMA and everything, and I'll talk about that maybe next week or something, but because I don't really want to get into that too much right now, but and I do have thoughts on it, but the Activision Blizzard thing, and there's a lot of shit going on with the CMA and everything. But this came out, a lot of stuff has been coming out, and one of the things was Microsoft admitting that the Game Pass is hurting game sales. Well, of course it is. No shit. Of course it is. Okay? Everyone knows that. Everyone has been knowing that, except media and the supporters of Xbox. They have been telling people constantly that what they see is not what they see, what they hear is not what they heard, and they keep spinning everything into this sort of weird positive. No different than when Starfield got delayed. It was this like, it was everyone running to their cameras and microphones to say like, this is a good thing, everybody. Like, everyone, don't worry, calm down. You have a backlog. Remember, I mean, there's tons of other games, and Game Pass is so amazing. It's not a bad thing that Starfield's not coming out. This is actually really good. What? No, it's not good. It sucked. It sucked because that was what Microsoft was. That was their 2022. That in Redfall. And I don't know. I don't think Redfall is going to be that much, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. But regardless, we know, like, I mean, it's like, and like I said, I just keep going back to this whole Hollywood and what they did to comics. Okay. They keep telling people what they see isn't what is. It's not like, don't believe your eyes, don't believe your ears, and don't fucking use what I say against me, because that's just toxic. You know, it's just bullshit. It's total fucking bullshit. And spinning that Starfield got delayed into a positive was a fucking joke to me. I was laughing my ass off. I did a video on it, and I was just like, what are you guys doing? Just, it sucks. Say it sucks and move on. Say, what the hell, Microsoft, let's go. But no, it's a positive. And when Microsoft came out and said this shit about Game Pass is hurting game sales, that's now being spun into a positive. What the fuck are you trying to tell me? Like, okay, so one of the arguments was it's good for small developers. So a developer who doesn't have a lot of money and they're making a small game, an indie game. That's pretty much what they're saying, an indie game. It's good for indie developers who don't have the Take-Two money, who don't have the EA money, who don't have, you know, the Sony money or the Microsoft money or whatever, right? They don't have deep pockets. So Game Pass is very lucrative for them because Microsoft will come in, drop a fat check, and cover all of their development costs, and their game's going to get tons of fucking press on Game Pass. Okay, listen, I agree with that. That's a very good point to be made. The problem that I have with that point is when Sony was doing that with PlayStation 4 and really nurturing and bringing indies into the fold, Resogun, Journey, Fortnite. Remember that game? Remember when that showed up on PlayStation Plus? PlayStation Plus was doing that already, okay? When Sony was doing that last generation, it was a laughing stock. I heard so much criticism. Oh, it's the indie machine. The PS4 is the indie machine. Oh, Resogun. Huh, seriously? We got Sea of Thieves. We got all this other shit. And it's like, well, what's the, like, really? They're using third parties just to move their consoles. And it's like, Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that like Resogun is going to break your hardware because it's so amazing, you know, but games like Journey, like that game was fantastic. It was an amazing game. Really cool. It was something new and different at the time. Nowadays, I think it would just be kind of like, oh, this is boring, but especially at the time, but it just, I just don't forget shit like that. I don't forget the criticisms that I've heard over the years and years that have had my head in this gaming space, listening to all the shit talking about PlayStation and PS4, and listening to these guys now who are turning this around and saying like, they keep doing this shit. They move the goalposts because now it's like, oh, well, shit. You know, I know we said it about PlayStation and PS4, but I mean, now we're talking about Xbox and Game Pass, and you know, no, this is amazing. It's so good. It's like, what? Like, okay. So the whole indie thing, I agree with. I don't disagree with that. I take umbrage with the fact that that shoe didn't fit on both feet. Okay. It only fit for the green foot. And that was the only one I was going to work on. But the thing too is also the portraying of like game sales don't matter to Microsoft anymore. They don't care. All they care about is subscriptions. Listen, I heard probably like a year ago. It was, I don't know. It might've been Salty's Gamer. I don't know. I don't remember where I was listening to it, but I was listening to some people talk about how Microsoft is not, they don't care about console sales anymore. They only care about Game Pass. At the time, I was like, no, they still care about consoles. They have to. Like, what are they going to do? Like, not make Xbox anymore? And now, listening to these apologists and these YouTubers, now the people who support Microsoft and all the snake oil bullshit that Phil Spencer says, they are now reinforcing that point that was made a while ago by some other people. And I 100% believe that now. I 100% like listening to these guys. I was listening to one show in particular and listening to them talk about how we need to change the way we think. Xbox gamers need to change the way they think, that because game sales don't matter anymore. It's all about how many subscribers they have and how many people are playing that game on their subscription service. That means that the Xbox really, the console, the hardware could really go away. That's what that means. Because if you mate that up with what Phil Spencer himself, the car salesman that he is, he even said he wants to put Game Pass on as many consoles, or I'm sorry, many devices as possible. He wants people to have, and he wants everyone to have a window into Game Pass, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your PC, whether it's on your TV, whether it's on your fucking Steam Deck, whether it's on your fucking Switch, whether it's on your PS4 or your PS5. I'm really on board with that now. I really think that they are prepping and they are moving away from consoles. I really think that is a real possibility. I didn't think that not too long ago. I was like, no, that's not true. They have to keep making consoles. What are they going to do? You know, because, and here's the other thing too, is like, there was the thought of like, they're just going to be a software company. Well, you got to have software to fucking sell, people. That was one thing that didn't sit right with me, because I'm like, they don't have software. They don't have games. Sure, they have Word, Excel, blah, 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 Windows, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about strictly gaming here. They don't have killer games right now. Halo just got booted out, like into the ether. They just completely they pulled the plug on that game. There's no more fucking campaign content coming out. The battle pass is screwed. They are pulling the plug on this Halo Infinite project. And I think what they were attempting to do was do this games of service. They're fucking trend chasers. That's what Microsoft does. I still think they're trying to chase that Bungie Destiny trend. They are still they tried to create something that they could just continue to add like content to constantly and save money, not have to build a new game from the ground up, just add to it, extend to it. It didn't fucking work. It did not fucking work. And when you see that sort of like that shit happening with them, you know, where's Gears? Like, what's going on with that shit? Because really it's Halo, Gears, Forza. Those are their three tentpole franchises. You see everything that they're doing with the IP that they're picking up. It's like, okay, it makes sense now why they want Activision Blizzard so bad and why they had to get Bethesda, was because Without them, they don't have shit. Okay? Bethesda was supposed to carry them last year. And when Bethesda fucking delayed their shit, they left Microsoft out to dry. And furthermore, they left the gamers, the Xbox console gamers, they left them out to fucking dry. Okay? Which is unspeakable to me. In the gaming world, that just seems nuts. But now, going into this year, and like all of the hype, like going into 2023, because again, I've heard this fucking every year I hear this. This is Xbox's year. In case you didn't get that memo, get ready, because Xbox is about to fucking demolish PlayStation, because just like they were going to do in 22, and like they thought they were going to do in 2021, and like they promised they would do in 2020, and like they guessed they would do in 19. They really, really thought they would in 2017 and 18. I've been hearing this forever. Okay. So this year is the year. Okay, let's just wait and see, like always. There's already rumors and there's already buzz that Starfield's going to get pushed out again. It's supposed to be coming out no later than June. Now there's rumors that it's going to get pushed out. I don't know about Redfall. No one really is really hyped on Redfall right now. Starfield is the game. What other game that isn't Halo, Forza, or Gears that's coming out in 2023 that is that tentpole AAA big fucking console selling IP? I can't think of one. There's Forza Motorsport 7, I think it is. Looks cool, looks great. Probably going to be an amazing game. But once again, we're hanging on to the same franchises. Of course they need Activision Blizzard. They need it. It's not about whether... I used to think that when they first were going after this, it was like, okay, they're trying to be like Disney and suck up all the IP. They are still doing that, yes. But I now think that they are doing it because they are they want to go subscription only. They are really pushing all the way in on this Game Pass shit. I think that if this deal falls through with Activision Blizzard, which I still don't think it is, I think it's going to happen. I think that if it were to fall through, I think Phil Spencer gets fired. I mean, this guy has fucking failed just constantly. He constantly fails. He constantly lies. He constantly says we're going to do this, and then they don't. Just everything that he says, it's just bullshit. And I've watched so many videos lately of people putting together some really good, like edited cuts of what he says, then what happens like 6 months later or a year later. You know, like he really has this guy. He's just full of shit. And Todd Howard, same thing. He's not. I don't think Todd Howard is nearly a liar as much as Phil Spencer is, but he's up there. But Phil Spencer bullshits all the fucking time, and he never gets called out for it because he's fucking shaking hands and fucking kissing babies, and he's giving interviews and he's fucking giving access to people and everything, and it's just like, oh, he's so cool, he's such a gamer, he's like one of us, you know. It's like, really? Because if he's one of us, I want to kick him out of the group because he sucks, because he isn't doing anything worth a shit right now, and he hasn't been since he's taken over. His claim to fame is Game Pass. That's it. That's his claim to fame. And I still have my reservations about Game Pass. I do. I still don't think Game Pass is that great. I still think if you, okay, let's divert for a second here. This whole Netflix thing. Oh, they want to be the Netflix of gaming. Okay. Netflix to me is shit. I don't care what anybody says. You have a service that has literally thousands of titles, thousands. Maybe 1% of them are worth a fuck. The rest of it's trash, especially new stuff. Anything that's new. That Netflix is doing well, or has been doing well, based on the deals that they have made with the IP that they have taken from other like movie houses or whatever you call them. You know, having Friends on there, and like, you know, Sons of Anarchy and different shows like that. They have absolutely made shows. They, you know, like Stranger Things, House of Cards, those shows. They are really good shows, okay? But you're talking about a handful of shows out of thousands of titles. That's not good. That's not a good return, okay? Their movies are trash. Let me rephrase that. Okay, the best movies that they make are mediocre at best. So for the most part, that's trash, okay? I see Game Pass as the same exact thing, okay? Yes, they're going to have one or two hits here and there, but for the most part, Game Pass is just fucking Netflix. Sure. It's a bingeable fucking waste your time type of shit. There's some things in there that are good. You're going to run into some gems. You're going to find some things like, oh man, you got to check this out. This is really good. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm just saying they're banking on quantity, not quality. That's why they want Game Pass on every single device. That's why they want every screen to have a fucking Game Pass icon that they can double click and open up and play video games or whatever. They do that because they want to be just like Netflix. Like everyone has Netflix on their phone or on their laptop or their fucking tablet. When you go on trips or you travel, it's like, okay, I'm going to watch a show on Netflix. I download a bunch of shit to my phone so I can sit on a plane and watch Star Trek on Netflix or some shit. You know, that's what they want Game Pass to be. That's what Microsoft wants to happen. I just don't see the software. I just don't see Microsoft software is not doing shit right now. And the defense of this is it's just absurd. Like listening to people defend it constantly, it's just annoying, you know? And furthermore, one of the things too and I'm gonna kind of wrap up with this one. One of the things that I've been hearing and like the tone of these people who are defending and these YouTubers and shit like that, they really have been attacking people. Like they really go hard at other people's videos and shit. I'm a firm believer that if someone comes at you, I'm a firm believer and you have the right to clap back. That's just me. If someone comes at me and they start talking shit, I'm like, okay, well now I got to respond to this shit. And maybe it's worth responding to. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's, I'm like, whatever. It's kind of funny. I don't care. But a lot of these people now, they talk with such authority. They speak like they're fucking experts. Like they just know, and they just love insulting people and calling people names and labeling people. It's schoolyard bullshit. There's no real debate. There's no real conversation. There's no real arguments to be made. It's just, oh, he's trash. He don't know what the fuck he's talking about because he likes Sony. Oh, whatever. And then that's it. That's the debate. This person sucks because they play on a console that you don't like. Vice versa. You know, it goes the other way too. This guy sucks because he owns an Xbox. Oh, that's not a good argument. Okay, let's expound on that. Let's talk about why. But there's just a lot less of why, and a lot of people think that they're great debaters and they think that they're really good at fucking posing an argument and bringing forth facts or supporting facts or whatever to make a point. They don't. They just fucking name call and label, and then like they get people on their channels and they overtalk them and they won't let them speak and they won't let them respond, and they're just constantly like, oh shit, no way, I'm not even listening to you no more. And it's like, oh wow, okay, grow up. I was doing that shit in 7th grade. Okay, we have evolved, have we not? And I see grown folks doing this shit, grown men doing this shit, and it's just annoying. So, but yeah, you know, I wanted to talk about this, like I said, and I didn't even get to everything that I wanted to talk about, to be honest with you. It's getting kind of late. It's getting kind of warm in here. Actually, I'm starting to sweat. But no, I wanted to go over some of this because it's really been bugging the shit out of me, and I'm going to talk more about it. And I will not be pulling people's videos and breaking them down or no shit like that. That's not what I don't have any interest in that. But I am going to talk about. I will respond to the things ambiguously. I will not name names or anything like that. But there are points that I keep hearing. I'm like, this is nope, that's bullshit. Like turning this whole Game Pass is hurting, game sales is a good thing. That's a positive. That's so great. No, it's not. It's not. There are some things it's good for sure. But it doesn't like to just label it as like, no, it's a good thing. No, because it helps the indie dev. Game Pass is amazing. It doesn't hurting game sales doesn't hurt anything. It's like, okay, whatever. All right. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. It is getting kind of late and I do have to work in the morning. So thank you for taking the time. I know it's been a while. Hopefully I can get back into a rhythm and I can start, posting videos more on a regular basis. I did miss you. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be posting. So have a great day. Thank you for stopping by. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you later. Bye.